Welcome, young mages, to the Enchanted Forest. I see that you seek the magical talismans here to become mighty spell users. But beware, mighty magicians seek to hinder your quest and may give you more trouble than your journey is worth. Toil and Troublez is a set collecting and push your luck game for 2 to 6 mages, where players will collect sets of magical talismans to create collection marks for points. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game wins. To set up the game, one player will shuffle the deck and place it in the middle of the table. The player who last ate a mushroom goes first. On a player's turn, they will draw one card at a time and place it in the Enchanted Forest, following the placement rules as follows. The Enchanted Forest consists of a maximum of 3 rows. Rows are horizontal and do not affect other rows above and below them. Cards can only be placed at the ends of rows, on the left or right side, or to be used to create a new row. Each row can only hold 1 of each of the 5 talismans, as well as 1 each of the Master Magician cards. Talismans must be placed in ascending order, with lower numbers to the left and higher numbers to the right. You may skip numbers as you are placing them. However, Master Magician cards can be placed next to any talisman cards, regardless of type, and may only be placed on the ends of rows, left side or right side. The only exception to this rule is the cloak card. Lastly, cards with the same background color cannot be placed next to each other. This applies to both talismans and Master Magician cards except for the cloak, which we will talk about later. After a player places a card in the Enchanted Forest, they may continue to draw cards one by one to place them, or they may choose to end their turn. If the current player ends their turn after successfully playing a card, they may choose one of the 3 rows, perform any vanish, summon, or poison cards, and then place all the remaining talismans into their own treasure trove for later scoring. However, if the player draws a card and cannot successfully play that card in the Enchanted Forest, the card drawn is discarded and that player's turn ends. After the first player's turn is over, the rest of the mages get a shot at gaining some magic. In clockwise order, each player will choose 1 card from the Enchanted Forest following these rules. They must choose cards on the ends of the rows and not from the center. If a player chooses a Master Magician card, they perform the action before the next player picks a card. If the cloak is picked, it is then discarded and the talisman beneath it is placed in the player's treasure trove. Cards are taken until each player, except the player who just ended their turn, draws a card from the Enchanted Forest. If there are not enough cards for each player to receive one, players take cards until there are none remaining and a new round begins. Throughout the game, players will be creating sets from the magical talismans they find in the Enchanted Forest. Anytime a talisman is selected by a player, it goes into their treasure trove in front of them. At any time, players may choose to create a set out of their talismans. There are 2 ways to complete sets in Toil and Troublez. One way is to have 4 of one talisman, regardless of color. The second is to have 1 of each talisman, regardless of color as well. To complete a set and score points, a player will take 1 of the cards in the set and flip it over to create a collection mark. This will be worth 10 points at the end of the game. The rest of the cards used to complete the set are then discarded. Along your journey in the Enchanted Forest, you may encounter Master Magicians who plan to foil your magical quest. The Master Magicians are action cards that each have their own unique abilities. The Vanish, Summon, and Poison cards are used when they are picked from the Enchanted Forest, whereas the Cloak is used when it is placed in the Enchanted Forest. The Vanish card allows a player to call out 1 of the 5 magical talismans, and each other player who has one in their treasure trove must discard it. The Summon card allows a player to steal any talisman from another player and add it to their own treasure trove. However, you cannot take another player's collection marker. Ooh, a tasty cupcake! Never mind, it's the Poison card. If you end up in the unlucky position of choosing the Poison card, you must discard a talisman of your choice from your treasure trove. The Cloak is a special action card that is used when it is drawn from the deck and placed in the forest. When a cloak is drawn, you must follow these special rules for placing it. The cloak must be placed on top of any talisman card in the Enchanted Forest. Once a cloak is placed, no peeking underneath it. After all, it is an invisibility cloak. Because of its magical powers, the cloak hides both the number and color of the card underneath it. This may reset which cards can be played in that row. If you draw the cloak card, and there are no talismans in the Enchanted Forest, the cloak is discarded and you end your turn. The game ends when the draw pile is depleted, according to the rules based on how many mages are playing. Feel free to use the enchanted pause button on this video to read over them. Once the game ends, each player will score their treasure trove. Each collection marker is worth 10 points, and each remaining card in their treasure trove is worth 1. The mage with the most points is the winner. In case of a tie, the player with the most collection markers wins. If there is a tie beyond that, the victory is shared. Thanks for joining us on another mystical journey into family game night. And remember, the real magic is in the memories we make with our loved ones.